Alright, this is episode 3 of the F100 build. I've got quite a bit planned for it. We've got some stainless transmission lines, we've got some stainless brake lines, and we've got our headers here that we're going to put on possibly today. We've got a B&M pneumatic shifter that we're going to put in. I'm not sure what order I'm going to do this, but we're going to get the exhaust, the shifter, the transmission lines, and maybe mock up the radiator to see where it's going to sit. So let's get to it. Another treasure. Got grease all over my hand. First things first, we've got to tap the hole, I think right there or right there. One of these I cross-threaded when I put my cheap headers on because the bolts didn't line up, so I just it had, all of these were tight besides one of these, and I mean it leaked a little bit, but I wasn't concerned when I had it in my other vehicle, which was a G35, so I just kind of sent it, but that project got scrapped and now we're working on this beauty. So we're gonna get that tapped and cleaned up, and then we'll put the studs in on this side and then do the same on that side. I don't think I have to tap any on that side, I just have to put studs in, so we'll get that knocked out. Okay, so I found that it was this hole, so we're gonna get that cleaned up. Got the fit saw. You can see a bunch of the metal shavings coming out now. That should be good to go. We'll throw the vacuum on it and get those cleaned up. Alright, the studs I'm going to be using will be these just regular black anodized. I know I should be using stainless, but I can't really seem to find any that are in stock for the 351 Windsor, the small block. So I'm just going to use these. I mean, if they don't work, then they don't work, but I'm sure for what I'm doing, we'll be fine. So we'll get those cut open and we'll start putting them on the engine. Ow. Okay, they should go in by hand. Well, they're supposed to. Yeah, see. Make sure I'm in the right holes. And make sure that my flange nuts are going to work on the headers. Success. Test everyone like this, and then we'll have to start them, and then just work it on, since this I don't understand. That one's kind of squeezed, this one's really squeezed, and then that one's not. So I don't know. I got these headers off of Flash Shark, so they're not the best quality, but they're not the worst. But they fit really nice. So we're gonna put the header on to see and make sure that we're not going to, when we throw our shifter cable through the floor, and then start working on figuring out where the shifter may or may not go. As you can tell, that's an issue that I'm going to have to fix. Come on, focus. It's sitting on the weld here, and it's not going flush, so I'm either going to have to take off some of that nut, take that flange off, and it'll just be what it is. But you can see here, they didn't weld it there on that one. They didn't do it on that one. They didn't do it on that one, so I don't understand why this one has it, but whatever. That's just another thing we gotta overcome. So really, I might just grind that weld down so that it's flush. And it may or may not crack off later, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So I've got the shifter in the cab here, and I was thinking of mounting it right there in the middle, That's how tall it is from the seat, the bottom of the seat and the dash. Anyway, it's gonna sit, what is that, 3 inches lower. So really it's gonna be almost flush with the seat. But anyway, I was thinking of putting it offset over here so that whoever's, if there is ever anybody sitting in the middle, they won't have to straddle the shifter. It'll be offset closer to me. I think I'm gonna do that. If we put it in park here, we'll have to make sure that we put enough room for my hand from the dash. But I was doing a little mock-up with the new cable. I might be able to just use the whole new cable, just figure out how to attach this to the factory deal. But anyway, got it kind of shoved there like that, and it should come out in this area. So it should be able to come around the frame here, and then come back above it, and then come in somewhere like there. I don't know if that's gonna work, but that's what we're gonna try. So let's figure out where we want the shifter, get the hole cut, and put it through the floor. Alright, I've got the cable here, I've got the shifter out. This is the factory deal. This is how factory does it. You basically just clip that on there. It's just a little push connect deal. I went to Ace and I got this coupler, and it screws on to this B&M universal cable. Came with this nut, but it didn't come with the coupler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out and then weld that to there, and then drill a small hole basically in line with that there. This should work. We're going to see. Got the part all cut out. Got it beveled so I know I get the full amount of penetration. And then I'll just weld her up. Nice bench vise here. Alright, I've got the piece all welded up. I've ground 2 flat spots so that way it can sit flush. But I mean, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's functional. Well, it will be, maybe. It might be functional. So we'll get this hole drilled and we'll keep progressing. I've got the shifter pieces all assembled. Just put a couple washers here to help fill the gap in this, but that's all fine. Once I get the shifter in, I think it's gonna come out right around there. It's looped into the frame here. And then we'll come behind this, the transfer case shifter. We'll get the shifter put in now. Holes marked. Seen that one coming. Manual nutsert tool. One down, 3 to go. I got all 4 of the nutserts in. Throw the shifter in and tighten it up and hopefully run the cable. Let's go underneath and attach the cable in. Alright, I've got the shifter cable attached at the top. I think I'm going to attach it to this here with a hose clamp, but that should keep it out of everything in the exhaust. If not, then we'll heat wrap it. But I mean, it's looking good. I want to take the intake off and kind of clean up the firewall a little bit, take all the stuff that's not going to be used out. We're going to get this grommet out. I'll just take it all out. Take the e-brake cable out. We're not going to use that. We have an automatic, so we'll just throw that motherfucker in park. There's 2 bolts right here that are holding it on that I gotta take out. There's some flathead. There we go. Golly. Let's see if I can knock it through. Alright, there it is. Got it out. So if anybody's looking for one of these, I got one. This is an old computer. Well, I think it's out of a van. Anyway, this is about where it goes. I think there is a cable that runs back here for the vent, for the fender vent. We might be able to just kind of slide under it. Alright, let's get the intake off and start scrubbing at her. Now that the firewall's kind of cleaned up, I can move on to getting a general idea of where the radiator is going to go. So let's get to it. Yeah, we're going to have to do a bunch of cutting. I cut out the supports that held the old radiator in. I left these in because I might be able to use these. I just cut them a little shorter and then put new up angles and then bend it just how like factory was for the F100. Yeah, we'll see how it fits up now and go from there. Got a plan here to bolt this up. One's gonna be in front, one's gonna be behind. That'll give it plenty of space in between the two. I don't know if there needs to be space, but I don't want these brackets here rubbing. So we'll get this measured out and we'll get it worked up. I've got the radiator and the condenser put in there. I've got the hoses on. I'm gonna weld a piece from this side to this, so like a flat plate that goes across this whole thing, and then I'll do one underneath on just like this side here. That way there'll be some rigidity up top, and then I'll work on the bottom. We got the top part tacked in. Put this right there, and then that'll make this portion stronger than not having anything. I'll do the same to the other side. We'll get that welded up. The top mount is done. I'm working on cleaning that mess up. I've pretty well got this side cut completely out. I've got to weld in new metal for the lower pieces here. So it was completely rusted out. That's where the old mount was for the front mount, but I've got to completely redo all this. So the lower radiator hose or lower radiator mount will be done once I get both sides cleaned up and new metal in. We'll continue on that after we get all these holes patched up. Okay, this is about 6 days later. I've got this piece. This is done. That's done. I've got that welded up on both sides there. Just painted some primer over it so that it doesn't rust in the meantime. I need to do that too, but anyway, I've made, here, let's get some light on the subject. I've made these brackets here. I'll just weld that to the fender there, because the fender is basically, I mean, I've got it welded now, but from factory it's just bolted onto the front and like some rubber straps in the back. So this will be just enough with this here. Got that bolted up there, and that should be plenty. I gotta get the other side bent, so I'll show you how I did that. I've got it marked up right there. That's where my first bend is going to be. Just line it up here. And get it tight. Bend it by hand. For what it's for, it'll do perfectly fine. That's exactly what I want. It's a nice, snug, tight fit. Pretty nice. I've got this piece welded up here. I've got this bottom piece welded both sides. So that was the last thing that I had planned for this video. My next move is we've got the front painted, we've got the transmission lines on, but you'll see all that in the next one. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.